Okay, this is Vagrus, the Riven Realms. This is a post-apocalyptic fantasy game set in a world where the gods got very upset with humanity and fucked everything up. And it's fucking awesome by the look of it. It's apparently kind of like Darkest Dungeon, but with a nomadic approach. So you're one of these Vagri, who is traveling across this bleak, desolate, and desecrated land, trying to, make it across. So yeah, this is early access, and thank you very much to the developers for giving me a key so I can check this out. And bear in mind, this is early access, so obviously things are subject to change. Let's get into it. Okay, we have modes. Let's see. Okay, so it's like this is the way they intended it to be played, like a hard mode, and this is the sort of story mode. Let's go with the way the developers intended it to be played. Expect a steep difficulty curve and little to no hand-holding. I'm going to die. Nothing besides remains round the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare. The lone and level sands stretch far away. Actually, one of my favourite poems. Good start.
Ah, yes. A Vagrus. What a profession. Daring and savvy, always watching the horizon, always looking for an opportunity, and of course, for what is best for his comitatus, eh? And you are a Vagrus too, are you not? Many of your kind have I seen in my long life as a vagabond. Care to listen to a story about your exquisite occupation, good master? It is a tale of woe and terror, but it is also a tale that is true, as I have seen it with mine own eyes.
It's letting us choose to see the tutorial/prologue. I think we should do that.
Wise you are, good master. My tale is of a Vagrus, such as yourself, but one whose fate was cursed and wrought with ill fortune. It all happened a long time ago. 10 years, maybe more. I was but a passenger, travelling rough roads and forgotten ways with this comitatus, south along the feet of the great mountains of the west.
Are we not all cursed in this land? Let's begin. Scrapheap.
This comitatus I speak of had fallen under hard times. Perhaps it was due to imperial harassment or unfortunate decisions, or simply bad luck. Ira Franz, saint of roads, does not always smile on us mere mortals. But however it came to pass, their coin was drying up, and their opportunities seemed few and far between. One of the last chances their Vagrus saw was to travel to the remote town of Scrapheap and spend their remaining funds to stock up on cheap scrap metal. This metal could be sold for great profit over in the east and south. It wasn't a bad plan, truly, but it was not without risks either.
Welcome to Pilgrims of the Wasteland, standalone story of Vagrus the Riven Realms. Vagrus. Okay, the game is telling us RTFM, basically. RTFT, the tutorial, not the manual. But what's it icon can be clicked to show what the pointer is referring to. Okay, cool. Okay, so it's explaining how the movement works. We have movement points that it costs to move between these places. Let's move to Scrapheap. It costs us 6 movement points. Cool. Oh, we've encountered something. Most of the story is presented through interactive text called events. Events let you make different choices at each step. I see. And some options are only available if you have certain skills or requirements and stuff. So, yeah, it's kind of like the role-playing part of it, like the RPG-ishness of it. It's kind of like what it gives it the flavour of your interactions, I suppose. Having gone ahead of the column with a handful of scouts, you watch from afar as your comitatus slowly trudges along broken terrain, making its way south ponderously among dormant geysers. All around you, the hills smoulder lazily in the perpetual twilight. Are you alright? Javik's voice resonates with sympathy as he appears next to you on the ridge. You nod slowly, but do not look at him, your gaze lost in the distance where ash cloaks the horizon and the towering mountains to the south and west. You turn to your Comes and note his supportive smile. You and Javak have been travelling the realms for years now. There is no person in the world you trust more than him, except, perhaps, yourself. I know you feel your hands are tied, but like I said before, you made the right choice by leading us here. So we have some dialogue choices. I'm going to go with this one. Time will tell, but I still have my doubts. It's a long shot and you know it. Javik nods. True, but it's better than giving up. The crew agrees too. That counts for something, no? Or perhaps they are just as desperate as I am. Now, let's be a bit positive. It does, yes. Good to know they still have faith in me as their Vagrus. They do have faith in you still, Javik says. It should not come as a surprise, since you have known and travelled with most of them for years and years. Some founding members of the Comitatus you could trust with your life. But you have heard stories about the Vagrus who have been abandoned for less. Times being what they are, Javik trails off. With Imperials cracking down on us independents more heavily than before, business is tough, everyone knows. And they appreciate your efforts to keep us floating. Our plan ought to give us another chance. Let's see, when an event is highlighted pale blue, it means you've found a codex entry. Okay, cool. Clicking on Scrapheap. Oh, okay. The codex is a collection of entries you find throughout your travels. Yeah, yeah. Wow, there's a lot. There is a lot. This is... I remember Ross Scott said something about RPG fans. They like to read a lot. So, if you're one of them, there's a lot of lore here. This is deep. Look at this. This is like a whole world of stuff. The plan. You talked your travelling company into this a few weeks ago, but with each step towards the western mountains, more and more of them started to have doubts. Such is the way of the road, perhaps. The plan involves a desperate attempt at squeezing a low selling price for metal bits out of an old contact of yours in the old town of Scrapheap. Stocking up on said metal by spending your remaining coin and bringing the cargo down south around the Molten Tongue to Devon via Avernum and Ash. There's a shortage of metal in Devon, and you know several buyers who would give a pretty price for your goods if you can only make it there before the others with similar cargo do. Such contacts are the boon of long decades spent on the road. But even if Nabo, that villain, gave you an agreeable price in Scrapheap, the road is not without its perils. Sneaking through the gap between the dead forest and the Molten Tongue is inviting disaster, so it is not a path many Vagrus would risk. And of course, if this fails, you are out of alternatives. Do you think Nabo will help us out? The old scavenger was never famous for his goodwill, Javik wonders. Okay, so we can choose to hope, to indicate our intention to compel him, or lean on the fact that we will be indebted to him. A great man once said, there are three forces in the universe that guide everything: matter, energy, and enlightened self-interest. So I think this makes sense. He has to help us out. He won't be able to pass up the opportunity to make us indebted to him. Even the thought of selling yourself out in such a way makes you feel dirty. These are dark times, they call for desperate deeds, but such thoughts make me uncomfortable, to be honest. Javik rubs his chin absent-mindedly. You have seen this expression of his too often not to realise he is using his sorceress talent to read your mind. There's no point telling him to get out. He's already looking. Taking a peek. Apologies. Javik rubs his eyes quickly and looks away. You know how it is. It comes to me so naturally, sometimes I don't notice I'm doing it. Your thoughts were loud, Vagrus. I have to actually block them, you see. After joining your Comitatus 6 years ago, Javik proved to be an invaluable asset. Not only does he sense moods and thoughts around him, but he's also able to subtly manipulate others when he focuses his inner energies. It comes in handy when doing business. Then there are his other perks. A few times you saw him shatter the minds of men and beasts who tried to kill him. Not a pretty sight, but a very effective deterrence. Yet, because he's not a trained sorcerer, at least not in a traditional sense, his abilities are sometimes difficult to control. You have become accustomed to his impromptu thought scans, while others find it less bearable to be around him. For this reason, he's kept his abilities a secret for many years, overall, but you can't keep a secret such as this for long in the close-knit community of a Comitatus, especially not if you keep bursting minds and knowing things you shouldn't. So there are only a handful of you, or Komes, who put up with being near him for any length of time. But even so, he has not probed your mind in years, certainly not on purpose, but neither by accident. Perhaps he is less in control now, which suggests he is more on edge about this whole trip than he lets on. So we can be magnanimous or we can be annoyed. I think it's a good idea to stay on the good side of a sorcerer. Apology accepted. You manage your fate, smile. Let us return to the others and push on. There's still a day's travel ahead of us. Both of you head west to join the column. You go back to the Comitatus. This is a book!
As we were coming up to the gates of Scrapheap, this trash pile town of cutthroats and scavengers, we could see the vast mountain ranges of shattered Bivanda Thar looming ominously over the horizon, half shrouded in the gaseous vapors belched forth by the volcanoes in the far west. My companions prepared to do their business in town as fast as they could, not wishing to tarry in this notorious place.
And by that, I mean it's really well written. It's quite compelling. Let's see. When a comitatus enters a settlement, you can select it from a variety of options, each on its separate pane, revolving around resting, resupplying, and trading. You also have the opportunity to indicate stories located in the settlement. Only the story pane is active. Follow the only available story. I see. Okay. At the foot of the ever-fuming mountains of the ancient dwarven kingdom lies Scrapheap, the town of scavengers. Debris and junk is piled into veritable hills, upon which the rickety homes of the decrepit inhabitants stand precariously. Ash lingers everywhere, and the sun is almost always absent from the twilit skies. Deals are struck day and night over the precious metal scraps gathered in the ruins of nearby Devendar Thar, while the Heap King oversees all from his dreaded tower. Shady eyes in soot-covered faces watch from under ash-laden awnings. Life is cheaper than iron here, some say. It's really well written. I love it. You make your way to the Wraith's stash, a notorious watering hole tucked away in a small street just beneath the imposing tower of the Heap King, but not quite under its immense shadow. Few frequent the establishment, which makes it perfect for Nabo and his little operation of honest merchants. Apparently the knave is not only alive, but has done well for himself in the past decade or so. Taking only Javik, you lead the comitatus to the care of your Titus, your quartermaster, while you are gone negotiating. Ash is flitting from the black sky as you cross the street and nod to the bouncer of the Wraith's stash. You give him your sidearms quickly. Rules are rules, at least as long as they can enforce them. Yet they have the courtesy of allowing you to keep your dagger, and of course they have no idea what Javik is capable of, should it come to a scuffle. Not that you expect such a thing, but with Nabo, one never knows. Though you have told your crew that he and you go way back, the entrepreneur is a capricious and manipulative man, with whom you did not part on the best of terms. Does he remember that? Surely. Could he be persuaded to take your proposal? Who knows? Your eyes slowly adjust to the dimness of the tavern's interior. Only a few candles and a lamp at the bar illuminate the common room. Shadowy faces turn towards you and observe you through the smoke. The bartender, a thick-set man in a dirty tunic, is chewing tobacco serenely. Above the bar hangs the skeleton of a large heap lizard on display. Nabo is sitting at a table in the back, his bodyguard half hidden in the darkness at the wall behind him. Let's head straight over to Nabo. The entrepreneur looks up from a stack of papers in front of him and rubs his eyes. Nabo is a corpulent man with a bushy dark beard and few missing teeth. Part of his face is covered in scars similar to those left by old burns. That, coupled with the withered and mutated left arm that hangs limply at his side, is a clear indication of the taint. The merchant wears a leather jerkin studded with small bronze and bone coins, a sign of wealth and boldness. His bodyguard, a lithe man with tribal tattoos and an outfit made of leather, moves his hand calmly to a spear that leans against the wall. Nabo's mouth falls open at the spark of as the spark of recognition flares up in his eyes. No wonder. It's been 10 years. The fuck, mate? He blinks. I thought you'd croaked. People, Nabo waves his hand around and looks at his bodyguard. Told tales of your demise. The man finishes his sentence for him, as the merchant nods vehemently. That business with Kernak outpost in the storm, Nabo adds. You tell him you were indeed at Kernak when the terrible arcane storm struck. You describe the horrors of that night briefly. You add how many of your original comitatus died there. Close friends, old travelling companions, but you walked away unscathed. This was years ago. Sheesh, that fucker Aerophons looked after you something fierce, eh? Nabo chuckles heartily. But I'm sure you haven't come to reminisce about old times, eh? His predatory smile makes you cautious, even though he invites you to sit down with a casual wave of his meaty hand. Let's see, we can apologise for the unfortunate way you parted, get down to business, or escalate things. You got some balls coming here, all business and bold. After a tense moment, his stern expression turns into a toothless smile. I like it. The The bodyguard visibly becomes less tense. Nabo opens his arms wide and bows his head. Let's hear it, mate. You breathe in. Time to outline your proposition. You explain to Nabo how you want to give him a discount on shipment of metal scraps, which you would then smuggle into Devon through contacts you have in the city's underworld. The profit on the shipment would be quite exquisite. You do not name your contact, but divulge enough of her that the plan looks solid. Buyers, you say, are lining up, expecting the shipment soon. Nabo sits in silence, eyes fixed on the table, as if listening to some noise from afar. He does not cut you off at any time during your proposition. At length, after you are done, he looks up and gives you a weak smile. That sounds like you've been thinking a long time about it, he says as he shifts in his chair, and it's a great plan, except for the part where I give the discount you're asking for, and not much else. And I don't do that, mate. That would make me what? An almoner, the bodyguard adds discreetly. That a word? Nabo looks up at him. When the man nods, he turns back to you. Aye, an almoner. See? I'm no almoner. You know you've got to do better than that. What you got for me? So some of these choices have dependencies and some of them have chances of success. So we can just do this. Reveal you're in a bad spot and it's your last chance. This guy respects strength. He will not appreciate begging. Because he's no almoner. Tell him you'll be in his debt. He will make a tidy profit as it is, but you will owe him a favour. What's this? Increase your chance of succeeding by 10% cost 2 resourcefulness. We have a locked dependency. We'd need something else to make that work. Increase our chance by 10% with this. Remind him that you two made a great team and this could rekindle that partnership. Yeah, I think this is our best chance. Let's do this. Let's cost ourselves 2 resourcefulness to increase. Did that work? Oh yeah, it's a toggle. Okay. Let's see. Persuasion plus 15, charismatic. Yeah, so these are our stats that help us. And there's one that we can't do at all. I guess that's probably unlockable by knowing something that we haven't found out. Okay, let's try it. I suppose you don't plan on croaking just so I can't collect on said debt. Nabo chuckles. Nabo's chuckle turns into a short wheezing cough. Alright, well, I know you to be a man of your word. We used to run together, so I know you're good. But just to be clear, you do owe me for this, and I'll collect. I'll collect right now, in fact. You're headed to Devon by way of Avon, am I? When you nod, Nabo leans closer and signals his bodyguard. The man with the dreadlocks steps closer and carefully produces a small packet from beneath his leather jerkin, then puts it into the merchant's palm. This here little fella is mighty important to me, see? If you take this out of the city and deliver it to my associate in Avernum, we're even. You get your discount scrap from me. The merchant offers you the package. Javik draws in a breath, but before he can speak, Nabo interrupts him. And before Pretty Boy here asks, no, I won't tell you what's in it, and don't even think about opening the package. What I can say is, it ain't dangerous to you itself, but you might want to keep it hidden from the damn militia of good old Scrapheap. You take the package, the way Nabo glares at you makes it clear you have no other choice. This might just be the opportunity you'd hoped for. It looks like Javik read his mind and knows what is in there. The package is small enough to fit in your palm, feels very light and is wrapped in fine leather. You pocket it after briefly observing it. You'll be looking for a man named Scornar in Avernum. He ain't to be trifled with either. Just tell him I sent you and you'll be fine. You can find him or his men in Lavinous Watering Hole most of the time. Give this little fella to him and him only. Understand? After you assure him you do, Nabo instructs you to give him an hour. Then look for his people at the market and simply introduce yourself. They will know what price they should give you on the metal scraps by then. He motions to his man. You and Javik stand up and make ready to leave. Rather here will take you to the back exit. We don't want to give people the idea they can come here to beg for almonds now, do we? Or anyone to connect us and run to the militia for that matter. You got what you came here for, so you leave the Wraith Stash through the back entrance and head back to the Comitatus. Okay. Cool. Okay, our journal is now active. I guess that's this. Okay. This is a quest log, we can search it. Yeah, there's a lot here. Whew, the package. Okay, Okay, it's at least it's given us a nice breakdown of everything. So buy everything for the journey at the market. Have at least 800 supplies. The awnings, equipment, regions. Okay. The market pane is now active. Click on the scales icon right here. Okay. Ooh. The market pane displays the available goods you can buy, so and so. So here's our cargo hold, and we have like equipment for our beast of burden here. It looks like some kind of, I guess, scrap lizard. What do they call it? Okay, we can hold shift to buy us whole stack. Drag and drop. Holding shift and clicking the icon opens the window. You can specify the quantity. Okay. Purchase 24 scrap metal. To buy specific amounts, shift click on the goods icon. So like that. So we want 24. Cool. And additional supplies to have at least 800 units. So we have 700. So we need 100 more. Alright. Equipment that you can attach to the Comitatus is sold on some markets or fast rate your travels. They provide bonuses and upgrades. You can switch between the market of goods and equipment using the buttons over the list of items on the market pane. Okay, switch to equipment. Purchase the awnings. Okay. So what does this do? It reduces consumption. Stretched over saddles and carts to block harmful weather effects and provide shade. Okay. Where does it go? Here? No. Oh, it goes there. Okay. Cool. Items in the third type of cargo do not take up cargo space and are not equipable. They are used and traded in certain events. I guess that's what the package given to us by what's his face. But I don't see I don't see where the item is. I guess maybe they're not indicated here, or I'm just not seeing them. Packed up, restocked some supplies, and with all your business here concluded, you finally make ready to leave the decrepit town of Scrapheap behind in the morning. Let's see. You could spend the night inside a guarded compound. There's still things you wish to explore. I mean, we probably can't afford to be... I don't really understand these options because why can't we just move on? Oh, we're leaving in the morning. I see. Let's explore. Oh, that just allows us to do this again. Okay. Never mind. That's... okay, let's just spend our night in the guarded compound then. You set out at dawn. We've lost... It only took us one medium currency, I guess. Is that copper or bronze? I don't know. A leerg. Ashes flitting from the sky and the distant mountains rumble ominously in the morning twilight as your comitatus reaches the west gate of town. You noticed almost immediately that the militia at the gate is questioning and inspecting travellers. Move along towards the inspection. This is like a D&D campaign. It's quite incredible. You realise that even if they are looking for the package Nabo give you, there is a minuscule chance of finding it among several dozen departing caravans, all made up of dozens of people respectively. Besides, the packet is tiny and well hidden at the bottom of a sack of dried mushrooms. A robed magistrate of the Heap King appears to coordinate the search effort, picking out people or even whole travelling groups for inspection. As your comitatus draws near, it takes only a passing glance from him to check you and your crew before he motions to the guards to let you through. You quietly pass under the gate and out into the broken wastelands. The comitatus is well on its way, and Scrapheap is a mere dot on the horizon by the time Javik joins you at the front of the line. Just as I said, you made the right choice with this venture. Talk of how you may have saved us all is spreading like wildfire, he says with a faint smile. Of course, we do have to make it alive to Devon with the cargo, but it's a good start, don't you think? Let's butter him up. Agreed. There may be hope less for the comitatus after all, and you know it's in a large part thanks to you and your abilities, not mine. Javik smiles and bows his head in thanks. Not that I fully agree, but it's my pleasure to be of use, and I'm sure the journey will be fine. It's not like we started this business yesterday. With that, you both go back to your duties and the constant monitoring of the horizon. If all goes well, you should reach the wound in a few days, where you can turn south along the edge of the Molten Tongue and travel down to Avernum. Let's see what the wound is. A chasm is a 15 miles long cleft that runs between two broken hills next to the dead forest on the southern side. This 100 to 200 yard deep ravine bottom glows with a crimson light and is covered with a blood-like liquid. The penetrating horrid smell of a gangrenous wound permanently covers the whole area. No one has ever returned from the ill-fated ventures to the bottom of the pit. Abominable creatures born of the blood-like liquid wander the wound's vicinity, sometimes attacking indiscriminately, other times not paying mind to passers-by. Fucking hell. This is a really dark setting. +3 morale. Oh, okay. I guess we're doing alright. Your progress is saved at checkpoints. When you leave a settlement, reach story later checkpoint, as well as the start of each in-game day. Okay.
There they were, with a full cargo hold, and filled with newfound hope. Yet, the road ahead still promised hardships and peril. I travelled with them southwards, expecting to reach more habitable lands beyond the Molten Tongues river of lava.